So it's we're using.
Sorry. Never guessed I used to be a university lecturer. Silence in the room. I'm not going to print every single image on every single paper because the differences, they are real, but they are not necessarily that obvious, and certainly not at looking at prints. You will notice it more. This one will start up at some point. The differences are real. You need to see what matches your style and what you actually want for the picture. It's quite subtle. A question I get asked a lot when I do reviews and testing and things is, which paper suits what sort of image? If I had an answer for that, I would have written a book on it, and I'm sure it would be very popular. There is no answer to the question. There are some papers that an image will look awful on, and there are some that look good. It depends on your image, what you want. If you're selling images, it tells what your market wants as well. So if you're using this as part of this particular range of papers as your marketing to a particular audience, find what they want, find what matters to them. Because once you've made profiles, and I've made some profiles of these papers on a different printer, and they are very similar, which means the coating that's on this, so the base may be different, but the coating is relatively similar. There are no optical brighteners in them whatsoever, so you can flash a UV light on them, they will fluoresce no more than anything else with a bit of wood. So there's no problem of OBA and the archival properties. Archival, if it matters for you, then check with the paper makers, because they have all the specs, they will give you all the information you want and that sort of stuff. I personally give a lifetime guarantee on my prints, and that's it. Any problems after that, take it up with my estate. I'm confident that printed on pigment inks like this, on good papers like this, they're going to outlast me if they're kept in reasonable conditions. As I say, there's lots of background info on that sort of stuff if you want it. Now, the picture I'm printing here, this is black and white one version of the woodland one that's on the table there. And with this particular printer, and this is one that currently, if somebody says they want to do fine art prints, I'm as inclined to say this one, if they want a larger one, or the 7500. I've tested them, I've tested Canon stuff as well. I happen to like these particular ones here. There's not a huge difference. There are differences, and obviously the man from Epsom will tell you much more about the differences, but in terms of making a print here, I'm printing here. This is a 2010 MacBook Pro. It's the one I cart around all over the place, but travelled all over the place. It is running Photoshop CS6 on it. It works just fine. I'm actually printing using Epson Print Layout. Now, if you've not tried it, if you've got one of these printers, now most people tend to get a RIP to go with things. Depending on what you're doing, a RIP is complete overkill for what many people need for basic printing. It has its uses, very specific uses, but in general, I'm using Epson Print Layout here. That's free software. It's worth it. I use it in a lot of my teaching and demonstrations because it's the same on Mac and PCs. I've not used Windows PC this century. If you want to see an example of how to look inept, get me to do anything basic on a PC these days, and you will soon see that I've not used one. But I'm using the ABW print mode as well for black and white here. Now ABW, Advanced Black and White, it doesn't use some of the coloured inks, it has a mix of inks that it uses. It doesn't just use black ink, grey ink, some people think. There are colours in to get the neutrality right. But in general, on papers like this, the ABW mode is the best way for printing black and white. Now, having said that, there we have, that's an oak tree, it's the same picture, it's up on there, another one. This is based on a 102 megapixel image taken with a Fuji GFX 100S. Really shows the detail. Now I'm going to put it up here. Let's leave that there to dry for a moment. But in terms of the print settings and everything to do, use the right profiles. The Hanover profiles seem to work just fine on this. If I was doing it myself. I had one of these and was doing stuff. I've made my own custom profiles. But then I've got the kit and the software to do it. So if you haven't, get something about the hand-built profiles, or get your paper from a supplier that will do profiles, custom profiles for you. Some will and do that. It's worth it. That's for colour. For black and white though, the ABW mode is the one to use for that. Do you want that? Right, anyway, these pictures. Now, so I'll leave these out so you can have a better look at them. Let's put this one over here for a minute. This is like a fresh one. I've just resized these. These are printed using Epson print layout. These two ones here, despite the size of them, they were taken with a 20 megapixel camera. They were taken with good lenses, albeit. I think this was probably the Canon TSE-17, and this was the 24mm. I don't remember exactly. But they're about 20 megapixels. These have been resized using gigapixel AI and Sharpen AI. And they show how good quality you can get from images these days. Now, I know that the market for making posters and things like this, they're probably aimed at people who wouldn't notice the difference. But if you've got people who do notice the difference, modern software will do an awful lot for it. I say, those are, you can see by the aspect ratio of them, those are off 3 to 2, 35mm sensor. This picture here, I've just been testing, doing some work, testing the Fuji GFX 100S. And this is Swiveland Woods, which is not far from here, up on the way up to Loughborough. Now that, and as I say, do have a look at it in detail, because that's an oak tree, and if you look carefully, and if I put my 2 pairs of glasses on, I can even see clearly that they're oak leaves and the shape of the leaves on the ground, everywhere, so that's real detail. That's the actual real megapixels. This, I'm still quite happy with this, because as a print on a wall, I'd be happy putting this on a wall again. They look fine. Nobody is going to, nobody's going to come in my office if I've got one of these on the wall and go up to it and go, yeah, you've sharpened that too much. Well, they're not going to come in my office a second time if they say that. It's about viewing distance. So I picked this paper. It's got just enough texture. I like it. It gives a slight bit. It's not too intrusive. The bamboo is probably I would use more for some of my architectural work for that, because that's much smoother. But the actual choice of which paper, have a look at them and see which you like the best. One other bit, I mentioned about the ABW printing mode. It uses a mix of inks, but it doesn't use the full range of inks, so it's meant to be more neutral. And in general it is, although you've always got a problem with whatever your viewing lighting is. If you want to print black and white, go for pigment inks. I've got quite a lot of stuff I've published over the years about how to fine-tune stuff like this and get the best results out of it. And part of that is I've got a test image. This is a black and white test image that I created specifically. I've got several versions of this. These are all downloadable from your website. But this one will work on an ISIS scanner, which is sitting on top of that spectrophotometer. I can do a linearity check within just a couple of minutes, just feed this in, get the data out of it. But the test image is designed, if anyone does do black and white printing, I know this one's been or a version of it has been downloaded tens of thousands of times. Lots of people have used it. It's got simple aspects. It was specifically generated for testing black and white printing. So you can tell a lot about the linearity of the printer just by looking at the bullseye pattern on it. Just one quick look at that and I can tell about the blocking. I can look for gradients here. Simple things like if I'm doing a quick test of a paper, I look to see whether I can read my name on it. It's got copyright Keith Cooper written over it in black against not quite black. Now, if I can clearly read my name there, then the blacks, there's too much opening up of the shadows. If I can't read my name clearly there, then the blacks are crunched up. And if I actually have to look slightly, then that's about right. So it should be clear, but you have to actually look. So there's articles about why all the various bits are on this, and I've got a whole stack of test images for this. But I've been looking at this for years. So this is printed as as is this one here. But if you look at this, I'm hoping that you can see slight colour tints. Now, these are printed not on one of these printers, these are printed on the new Epson ET Ecotac 18100. It's a dye-based printer, so I don't expect brilliant black and white out of it. I can see colour tints in that, and if you've got better colour vision than me, then it's going to jump out at you, the tints and things like that. Certainly, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. That's a problem, isn't it? So that's dye-based. Now, why would I want to use this? Well, I wouldn't for black and white. Turns out that for printing glossy colour prints on something like a metallic paper or a high gloss paper, it's absolutely superb. The prints look really good. Try printing on a paper like this, and yeah, you're not going to get very far, but it's not made for that. You want to print on this sort of paper, get a good printer. Yeah. If you want a good printer, buy a good printer. I get a lot of people asking me how can I save money on using do this. I want high quality prints but don't want to pay anything. Don't know. Yeah, there are ways of paying less for it, but you do have to pay a bit for these. Anyway, that's black and white. Do take if you have a look at them, take them over so see what they look like in daylight as well, because you'll see the colour changes things. But that's dye, and these are pigment inks. And this is why I would pick pigment inks. They're nice and bright for matte papers like this. Anyway, there's the black and white one. Now, I've tweaked because I haven't tested the black and white and done all the tests with this. I'm guessing a bit at the adjustments on this particular paper on here. So these have very slight differences in the settings on black and white printing. So you may, depending on once again your colour vision and the viewing lighting, you may see a slightly different colour tint in them. It's almost impossible to get bang on neutral in lighting like this. If you absolutely know you're going to be showing some prints in consistent lighting, then measure the lighting with spectrophotometer, use it to make a custom lighting curve and make a profile and correct for it, which you can do. That's an awful lot of faffing about. Someone needs to be paying me a lot of money for a print for me to go to all that trouble. Normally you'll get something like that. Anyway, that is the black and white version of that, processed differently. So from the raw file onwards, the two images were processed quite differently. One to get the black and white, one to get the colour. There've been a workflow optimised for each. Anyway, there we go. There's a few. I've got some more ones I'll be doing during the day. But if there's any specific questions you've got on this sort of printing, then ask away.
Thank you, Keith.
Thanks.
Thank you.